So this is ITSM in practice. Today I'm with Aitchison of LANDesk.
Hello.
Welcome. And we're going to talk about implementation of tools. So Ian, you've implemented lots of tools, I'm guessing. You've had lots of projects with ITSM implementation, and I guess what we're looking for is some nuggets of advice and experience from that. From a vendor's point of view, what are you looking for? What do you need from a client for a successful implementation?
I think there's a few things that immediately come to mind on that. One of them is a recognition that an ITSM solution can go on through many years of evolution. So we would always recommend a customer, don't try and do everything at once. So phase your project, think about your project as being a long period of time. Focus on the first things to do first, and get those targeted and implemented with fairly clear objectives as well. So it really helps when you're in, say, your first phase of implementation, that you know what you're going to get at the end of it. Now that helps the vendor. It really helps us to know this is what we're delivering. We refer to a statement of work. So a statement of work says, okay, you've selected LANDesk Service Desk. Our first phase is going to give you this and this and this. And everybody agrees. And that really, really helps, because you get to the end of that phase of implementation and you can say, you did it. This is what we needed. This is what we expected. If you don't have that clarity, you can get to the end of it and someone can pop up and say, oh, I thought, or I expected, or I misunderstood. So I think clarity is really important.
Do you need to have somebody both on your side and on the customer side that kind of is the owner or representative?
Yeah, I mean, we typically have a project manager involved. It depends on the nature of the implementation. Some of our simpler ones don't require a project manager, but if we can, we prefer it, because a project manager makes sure that the project is more successful. It also helps on the customer side to have that project manager or that point of contact. Now, there's various other people involved throughout the exercise, but to have that consistency, that understanding, and almost the one-to-one relationship to say, step back from the detail, where are we trying to get to? Has anything gone right? Has anything gone wrong? Where are we at so far? I think that works well.
On the customer side, so you're saying, you know, clear and objectives, phased approach, maybe a customer owner. I mean, is there any kind of guidance on what's the best sort of person to do that role on the customer side?
It's funny, because I think, and it's not a service management thing, it's any IT project really, or maybe even any project. It really just comes down to the people. And it comes down to having people who are understanding of what they're doing, are experienced in what they do, who understand where they're trying to get to. And sometimes it's brilliant. Sometimes you have the best people in the customer organisation and it goes so smoothly and it's completed in fast timescales and everybody's really happy. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you have people that maybe they're taken off the project and moved on to something else. The customer changes their contacts around. The planets don't align. Things sometimes go wrong. Let's be realistic. Sometimes that happens. And it's hard. And it comes down to people. It comes down to who they are. If
you're talking about people, though, I mean, what would you say would be the main characteristics that you were looking for in that customer's project manager? Well,
some project management background helps. They may be a lead in the service desk themselves. That's really beneficial. In some ways, it depends on the size of the implementation. So sometimes our main contact is quite high level and is just steering the project. Sometimes they're right down in the operation and they're focused more at the detail. But I'd certainly say, obviously, an understanding of service management, an understanding of ITIL concepts, and a good background in some form of project or structured approach to delivering a project is really helpful.
From a vendor's point of view, if you go into a client and they've had consultants in, you know, who've drawn up stuff to, you know, maybe process design or whatever, does that help you, or does that get in the way?
That helps us enormously. LANDesk Service Desk is a process-driven solution, so one of the first things we do, indeed before they've selected us as a solution, is to say, what process would you like? How would you like your support process to work? And we show the standard ones we deliver. So we deliver fully functional incident, problem, change, release, request, and all those processes. But we encourage our customers to take intellectual ownership of how they evolve that process themselves. So it's not a programming language, it's drag and drop graphical process design. Very easy to do. And we encourage them to engage with that.
But do they need consultants to do that? I mean, I suppose the point I was aiming at really was, do they actually get in the way, or do they help you?
I have to be tactful here. They can get in the way and they can help.
Don't think of me as a
I
consultant.
won't think of you as a consultant. We've had some cases where we've gone into a new customer implementation and they've shown us the thick folder that the consultant that's been working with them for the last year has drawn up, describing what their new implementation solution must do for them. And we very quickly turned that into 3 or 4 pages, because the majority of that document is provided as standard with the product. Now, that doesn't mean to say that exercise isn't valuable. It doesn't mean to say it isn't really useful to go through that exercise, but often there's a step leap from the consultancy big conceptual picture down into the tool set, what it actually does, and a number of conceptual things are just bundled into that tool set.
I mean, should they know about the product? I mean, I know this from my own experience of to what there's a point where actually understanding the product makes a difference.
Of course, it's going to help. Yes, yeah, it's going to be beneficial. Is it mandatory? Is it essential? No, I don't think it is, because service management is about process, really, when it comes down to it. And there are a number of tools on the market. They're all broadly able to do the same thing. We're particularly about process. So if someone's designed how they want a problem management process to work, then that suits us fine, whether they know our product or not. They have an idea of what they want it to do.
Okay, so just sort of rounding this up, we've talked about phasing, we've talked about objectives, people and process. I mean, if you had to sort of summarise a few key nuggets of advice to give end organisations to help them to have better implementations from your experience, what points would you say for that?
I think be realistic in your expectations and be focused in what you want to achieve. We had a customer that I spoke to recently whose biggest challenge during their implementation of self-service was their own employees getting involved in IT and saying, we need it to do this, and then we need it to do this, and then we want it to do this, and then we want it to do... So they were pulled in all sorts of directions. Because the project lead had great focus and clarity, he was able to carry on in a straight line to what he wanted the solution to do. And he validated that against the customer end user community. But his biggest difficulty was remaining focused against the distraction of his own staff pulling in every direction.
Because for vendors, presumably that can be a problem as well. Who do you talk to? Who's actually giving you the right...
Exactly, and again, you're back to your single point of contact. And what matters to us, as we've said before, is a successful implementation. So it's really important to us that we do see it succeed. And we do have cases where we will have to escalate with the customer and say, we're really worried. We're hearing all sorts of strange things, different people are appearing, are involved, it's going in a different direction. We're worried that this may not be heading the right way, because we want it to be successful too.
I mean, that's a good point. You want it to be successful,
yeah,
they need it to be successful. It's better that you actually pipe up and say...
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the most important thing for us as a toolset vendor are happy, successful customers that are doing great things and it makes a difference to their business. We want that to happen because that's how we continue to be successful. And we don't want things to go wrong. We're very keen that they are able to achieve what they want to do.
Okay, Ian, thank you. We'll talk again about ongoing maintenance and governance and so on, but for now, thank you on implementation.
Thank you.